Comedian Jerry Seinfeld once noted, "According to most studies, people's number one fear is public speaking. Number two is death. Death is number two. Does that sound right?" This means to the average person, if you go to a funeral, you're better off in the casket than doing the eulogy. Pretty funny, unless you're the one getting ready to give a speech. This lecture focuses on the very common experience of speech anxiety, specifically what it is, how our bodies handle the stress that accompanies speech anxiety, and some of the causes of speech anxiety with a few suggestions that may help. The technical term for the fear of public speaking is glossophobia. Speech anxiety falls under the global category of what James McCroskey of West Virginia University called communication apprehension, defined as an individual's level of fear or anxiety associated with either real or anticipated communication with another person or persons. Note the word level, meaning that there is a range. This means that some people have high levels of apprehension about communicating with others, or sometimes just even thinking about it, while others have lower levels. McCroskey identified two types of communication apprehension. The first, trait apprehension, refers to a general trait or characteristic of the individual. Communication scholars use the term high communication apprehension or high comm app to describe those who fear communication in general. They are highly apprehensive about communicating with others, whether it be one-on-one, in small groups, at meetings, etc. And low comm app to describe those who enjoy communicating. They have low levels of apprehension about communicating with others. Now the high and the low modify the word apprehension, not communication. And of course, most of us are in the middle. We have medium levels of apprehension. However, many of us have lower levels of apprehension about communicating in general, but in one area or one state, we have higher levels. So you may be a medium comm app overall, that's your trait, but have higher levels of apprehension related to the state of public speaking, or for that matter, even the state of leaving a message on someone's voicemail. Some other terms used interchangeably are communication anxiety, stage fright, performance anxiety, or public speaking anxiety. Regardless of the label, speech or performance anxiety is real and it is exceedingly common. Presidents Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy, actors Harrison Ford and Sir Laurence Olivier, actress and talk show host Oprah Winfrey, singer Barbra Streisand, just to name a few. Don't make your goal to eliminate speech anxiety. Instead, your goal should be to manage it, and if possible, help it work for you rather than against you. Famous television journalist Edward R. Murrow was quoted as saying, "The only difference between the professionals and the novices is that the professionals have trained their butterflies to fly in formation." Sometimes it helps to define terms. Let's start first with anxiety. Checking mytrustydictionary.com, we find two definitions, the first being the one that you're probably thinking of, distress or uneasiness of mind caused by fear of danger or misfortune. Pretty negative, huh? However, the second definition puts a much more positive spin on it, earnest but tense desire, eagerness. If you are experiencing anxiety about an upcoming speech, you could think of it as eagerness or a tense desire. Another word may come to mind, nervous, which uses the word excitable. Okay, let's try excite. At their root, all four definitions point to arousal. So what does this mean? What you label as anxiety is not necessarily a negative feeling. You may just be interpreting and labeling it as that. Oftentimes, just reframing what you are thinking in a positive light can go a long way towards managing speech anxiety. Rather than being anxious or nervous about giving a speech, both carrying negative connotations, you can think of yourself as being excited about giving a speech. Regardless of what you call it, there's no way to get around the fact that your body is under some sort of stress. If you know how your body typically handles stress, you might be more prepared for it and hopefully interpret it differently. We turn to scientist Hans Selye, who introduced the general adaptation syndrome model in 1936. Although most often used in the context of health, some of this model can be applied to the stress that you may experience during public speaking situations. According to Selye, our bodies go through three stages. The first is the alarm stage. This is a physical call to arms for the body, releasing lots of chemicals to address the flight or fight response. This significant increase in adrenaline causes both the physiological reaction, where our hearts pound, our breathing quickens, our bodies sweat, and the psychological reaction, where we feel strong emotions like terror, fright, anxiety, rage, or anger. Now, both of these reactions can actually save your life. Think back to the days of the caveman. You find yourself face to face with a saber-toothed tiger, and you have two choices: run like heck, flight, or stay, to fight. In either case, you need the adrenaline to help you run faster or fight stronger. Fortunately, you are not facing a life or death situation with public speaking, but your body responds that way anyway. This stage is of relatively short duration, ranging from just a few seconds to a few minutes. Understanding that it's going to happen may help you accept it, knowing that when you get through it, you'll go on to the second stage, which is resistance. In this stage, your body reduces the general alarms and channels energy to the organs most capable of handling the tension. Your body adapts. Physical symptoms lessen in about 1 to 2 minutes. The final stage, exhaustion, occurs after prolonged activity over a period of days or years, much longer than the speech will take. In the exhaustion stage, the physical and psychological energy used to fight a stressor has been depleted and may cause serious damage. This is why college students tend to fall ill near the end of a trying semester. They've been adapting to stress for months. But again, the stress of giving a speech should not put you in the exhaustion stage. General adaptation syndrome gives us some insight, but let's go a little bit deeper. We don't only respond to anxiety physiologically, we also respond cognitively. So let's spend just a little more time on the physiological reactions, what your body does. Our autonomic nervous system is divided into two branches. The sympathetic division gets us going and protects us during those threatening situations. It's that shot of adrenaline. While the parasympathetic calms us down so that we can rest and recuperate from the sympathetic arousal. The sympathetic division is the part that gets us pumped up. Hearts race, breathing rate increases, we sweat, blood pressure rises, digestion slows down, blood sugar is released, that gives us the quick energy, and more blood gets directed to our muscles and less to the thinking part of our brain, which is why you may draw a blank when you're nervous. It allows us to fight stronger or flee faster. Parasympathetic arousal, on the other hand, calms us down. Here, breathing and heart rate slow down, blood pressure drops, our digestive processes increase, and perspiration returns to normal. Both of these divisions are necessary and complement each other. What does this mean? Yes, you will likely experience a fast heartbeat, but it will slow down. And yes, you may sweat, have a queasy stomach, and so on, but the parasympathetic will help even it out. So if you wake up feeling crummy on the day that you're scheduled to speak, it's likely just your sympathetic arousal trying to get you to flee, giving you the excuse of saying that you can't do your speech because you are ill. Don't let the sympathetic arousal win. We also react cognitively when faced with anxiety. Former UC Berkeley psychology professor Richard Lazarus developed the appraisal view of stress, which suggests that your stress level is directly affected by how you think of the event that triggers the stress. He identifies two stages of cognitive appraisal, the first being primary appraisals. You initially evaluate the situation to assess the type of potential threat. Is it irrelevant, benign or positive, or stressful, meaning that you perceive a potential for harm or loss, which is an assessment of the damage already caused, a real threat, meaning any future damage that may occur as a result, or a challenge, which is the potential of overcoming that situation and possibly even benefiting from it. If you perceive the threat is stressful and negative, you then move to stage 2, or secondary appraisals, where you evaluate your ability to cope with the situation and determine whether or not you have the resources to address it. For example, if you perceive a spider as a threat in stage 1, in stage 2 you may tell yourself that you have a large shoe, the resource, and can use it, your ability to cope with the situation. Your anxiety levels would be much less than if you found yourself barefoot with no other resources available. This secondary appraisal is based upon those same 3 types of threats we addressed in stage 1. Now let's connect this to a public speaking situation. If in stage 1 you view an upcoming speech as stressful in a negative way, and in stage 2 you reassess and think that you have neither the ability nor the resources to get through it, your anxiety increases. likely increasing your physiological reaction. You feel worse physically, which then affects your cognitive reactions, creating a negative spiral. If, however, you view an upcoming speech positively in stage 1, your anxiety levels will likely subside and some of your physiological reactions as well. You can make the spiral work for you. A reassessment in stage 2 might reveal that you actually not only have the resources to do the speech, but you also have or can develop the ability, again reducing your anxiety levels. You might also view the opportunity to speak as a challenge that could benefit you. The experience might help you in classes, job interviews, etc. As you can see, your thoughts then can work for you or against you. Let's turn next to the causes of speech anxiety, many of which are related to our thoughts. First, we tend to focus on ourselves rather than the audience or the message. We doubt our abilities, obsess about our weaknesses, and worry that we will make mistakes. Well, guess what? Everyone makes mistakes. No one gives a perfect speech. And it is our mistakes that make us human and likable. We focus on our symptoms of nervousness, which affects our inner thoughts, which, as you know from previous discussion, tends to escalate it. One solution? Focus on the audience and getting your message across, not on yourself. We also tend to engage in negative self-talk, telling ourselves that we are nervous, predicting failure. We expect the worst. If we've had a bad experience in the past, that's what we focus on. Remember, your thoughts affect your anxiety level. Instead, give yourself lots of positive affirmations and label the speech experience as an exciting opportunity that you can learn from rather than a nerve-wracking experience. Many of us fear being judged, so we often view the audience as enemies. Instead, think of the audience as wanting you to succeed, or at least as a group of people who want to hear what you have to say. We also may have misplaced our perspective. We tend to compare ourselves with others and may have unrealistic expectations. Not everyone is a great speaker, and you know what? Not everyone has to be. Your goal should be to be a competent speaker. Many times we're anxious because we haven't prepared adequately. Oftentimes this is due to a combination of procrastination and perfection. We want the speech to be perfect, so we want to write it and memorize it word for word. We put off writing anything that might not be perfect, and then the time passes all too quickly, meaning that we won't know our material well and become afraid that we will forget what we just wrote. Instead, start early so you can tweak it to improve it. Prepare an outline instead of writing and memorizing word for word. You'll likely forget the word order when you're in front of your audience anyway, so you should concentrate on really knowing your material. Lack of speaking practice also comes into play. We often spend all our time preparing and run out of time to practice. And novelty or lack of experience is a factor as well. If you've never delivered a speech before, you're likely to be apprehensive. Practice will help both of these causes. And you can't just practice your speech in your mind. You must say it out loud in front of an audience and preferably in the setting where you will be speaking. And not all of those practices should be on the same day. There are some physical causes of speech anxiety. Poor posture can result in poor breathing. If you don't stand up straight and confidently, it makes it difficult to breathe. And if you breathe shallowly or hold your breath when nervous, you won't get the necessary amount of oxygen to your brain. Don't hyperventilate, but breathe deeply from your abdomen, what's called diaphragmatic breathing. You'll need to determine if you have any of these problems, and if so, work on improving them in your everyday life so that you will have good habits when you are delivering your speech. Processing time. How is speech anxiety related to communication apprehension? And what are the similarities in the symptoms of anxiety and excitement? Does knowing how our bodies respond to stress help you manage your anxiety? And which suggestions for addressing the causes of speech anxiety seem to be the most appropriate for you? Hopefully you can now approach a public speaking situation with more confidence and less anxiety.